Welcome in. We're diving deep into some really fascinating research articles from the fourth decade, a journal all about the JFK assassination.
Huh.
You wanted to go beyond the headlines, you said. Explore some of the lesser-known details of the case.
And that's exactly what we've got lined up.
Yeah, we've got a whole stack of articles here. Each one tackles a different angle of this, this endlessly fascinating case.
Right.
One digs into this senator. Seems he might have been spreading misinformation after the assassination. Another one, it delves into Lee Harvey Oswald's time in Holland before he came back to the U.S.
Oh, that's a fascinating one.
And get this, we even have one that challenges, like, the whole accepted narrative of how Oswald escaped from the Texas School Book Depository. It highlights this reporter's account that, well, it just doesn't match up with the official story. And then we've got, we even have one where we'll get hands-on, so to speak, with the assassination weapon itself. Look at a researcher's attempt to reassemble the actual rifle that was used.
It's quite a collection, isn't it? And I think you'll find these deep dives particularly interesting. The fourth decade is known for its its meticulous research,
Right.
often based on primary sources like FBI files, first-hand accounts. So we're dealing with evidence here, not just, speculation.
Okay, let's jump right in. The first article is Disinformation, Please. J.G. Sourwine in action. This one really grabbed my attention. It turns out this senator, Senator Julian Sourwine, he was chief counsel to the Senate Internal Security Subcommittee, might have actually been spreading, like, false information after the assassination.
It's important to remember the political climate back then, the early 60s.
Yeah.
Cold War at its peak, the Red Scare, that pervasive fear of communist influence,
Everywhere.
This really helps us understand, I think, why some might have been so quick to link the assassination to communist groups.
Right, whether or not there was any actual evidence. So it seems like Senator Sourwine was maybe trying to steer public opinion or even, like, push a particular agenda. The author of this article, Jerry Rose, he seems to think so, at least. And he backs up his claims with some pretty hard evidence of API files that he got through the Freedom of Information Act.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Rose, he outlines 3 specific instances of disinformation that Sourwine spread.
Oh, wow.
One involved a claim that the Communist Party was circulating pamphlets blaming right-wing groups for Kennedy's assassination. The FBI quickly debunked this, though. They found no evidence of any such pamphlets.
It's like something out of a spy thriller, this deliberate attempt to mislead the public.
Absolutely.
But then Sourwine, he kind of takes it a step further. He fabricates this whole story about an FBI agent who was supposedly handling Oswald as an informant.
Right. And again, the FBI had to step in and refute this claim.
It's crazy.
It is. And what's even more perplexing is how Sourwine tried to use this supposed contact he had in the Cuban embassy in Mexico City to gather information about Oswald.
The article, it suggests that his motives might not have actually been to uncover the truth, but rather to create a narrative that fit his own, agenda.
That's a pretty disturbing thought, isn't it? A senator, someone with that much power, potentially manipulating investigations, trying to influence what the public thinks. It really makes you question, like, how much do we really know about what happened in the aftermath of the assassination?
It makes you wonder. Rose even suggests that Sourwine might have used journalists to spread his disinformation. He mentions Sarah McClendon,
Oh, yeah, I remember her.
the reporter known for those pointed questions at Kennedy's press conferences. McClendon, she confirmed to Rose that Sourwine was influential in her career, though she also suspected he might have been using her in a way to disseminate his own narrative. That makes you think, doesn't it? Like, how information can be manipulated so easily, even by seemingly reliable sources. Makes you question everything you hear, everything you read. Speaking of questioning things, the next article we have, it tackles a really shadowy part of Oswald's life, his time in Holland.
Most people focus on Oswald's time in Russia, but his stay in Holland just before he returned to the U.S., it's shrouded in mystery.
Yeah.
It's this missing piece of the puzzle.
A real gap.
And this article, Oswald in Holland, attempts to shed some light on those few weeks.
It reads like a detective story, honestly. This article draws on Oswald's personal diary and some research by Dutch journalists, trying to piece together, clues about his movements, his activities. Right off the bat, there's this discrepancy. Oswald's diary mentions an address in Rotterdam. Turns out it's a boarding house. But later, his wife, Marina Oswald, she claimed that they actually stayed in Amsterdam for 3 days.
Interesting. Why would her recollection differ from what's written in his diary, I wonder?
Right. Was it just a simple memory lapse, or was there something, more deliberate going on?
And that's just the beginning. The diary also mentions a very specific detail: the number of a tram line that connected Rotterdam's central station to that boarding house.
You actually gave us his diary for this.
Right. Having the specifics is crucial for researchers to verify his movements.
Yeah. So this is good stuff. It's almost like he wanted to leave a trail. And then there's this one diary entry that really caught my eye. It just mentions Jalil Savcic and a room number. But no one has been able to identify this person or this location. It's like a tantalizing clue.
Yeah.
It hints at a connection we just haven't uncovered yet.
This Jalil Savcic, whoever they were, could be key to understanding Oswald's activities in Holland. What was his relationship with this person? What were they doing together? These are questions that, they really demand further investigation. And then the article throws in another detail: the presence of a CIA officer stationed in the Netherlands at the same time.
Now that is interesting. A CIA officer in the same place at the same time as Oswald. It makes you wonder, was there any interaction between them? Was Oswald really acting entirely on his own, or were there other forces at play?
The authors of the article, Hans Veldman and Willem Post, they even make a public plea for this guy, Peter Didenko, to come forward.
Didenko.
Yeah, he was supposedly a waiter on the ship that Oswald traveled on, but his name wasn't on the crew list. Another red flag, isn't it?
Yeah. Why was his name absent? Was it an oversight, or was it, deliberate to conceal his presence?
Yeah.
It sounds like there are layers upon layers of intrigue here. To think, even Oliver Stone, the director of the film JFK, he weighed in on this. Called Rotterdam, one of the smoking guns of the assassination.
Wow. Okay, now let's move on to our third article for today's deep dive. Robert McNeil and the Three Calm Men. This one directly challenges the whole accepted version of Oswald's escape from the Texas School Book Depository.
Yeah, this one's interesting for sure.
The official narrative, as presented by the Warren Commission, was that Oswald simply walked 7 blocks to catch a bus after the shooting.
Like it was nothing.
But as you pointed out when we were prepping for this deep dive, there's a big problem with that. No eyewitnesses saw him during this supposed escape.
Exactly. And that's where this article comes in. It focuses on the account of Robert McNeil, an NBC reporter.
Yeah.
He was in Dallas covering the president's visit. McNeil entered the book depository shortly after the assassination, and what he describes, it just doesn't fit with the official story.
Right.
His account is particularly intriguing because he claims to have seen Oswald leaving the building.
Really?
Yeah, although his identification of Oswald isn't certain. But what's even more fascinating, even more perplexing, is his description of these 3 men he encountered on the ground floor of the depository. Picture the scene. Chaos, confusion, people running everywhere. And these 3 men are just standing there, calm, collected.
Almost as if nothing had happened.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
McNeil even describes one of them directing him to a phone.
A phone.
Yeah. Why were these men so calm in the middle of this, national tragedy? Their behavior, especially compared to the panic outside, it just doesn't make sense for regular bystanders.
The article suggests that these calm men might have been involved in the assassination plot somehow. They were in the right place at the right time, and their demeanor was anything but typical.
It really makes you wonder if they were there to provide cover for Oswald. Or maybe even help him escape.
A chilling thought. And then there's another element to all of this. Remember Oswald's claim that he was approached by someone in the depository, someone who flashed a fake Secret Service badge and asked him for directions.
Right. And McNeil's account actually lends some credence to that claim.
It does. Could these calm men have been part of a larger operation, something involving impersonating Secret Service agents? It's a possibility that deserves serious consideration, I think.
It's like peeling back layers of an onion, The more we look into this, the more complex, the more intriguing it becomes. And we're only just getting started. This is just one issue of the 4th decade.
Right.
Think about all the other research out there, all the different angles, all the unanswered questions. But before we go there, let's move on to our last article for today. It's called The Mannlicher Carcano, a practical experiment in its reassembly.
Now, this one might seem a bit technical at first glance, but It's actually quite fascinating, I think. It shifts our focus away from these abstract theories to the concrete realities of the assassination, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to get into the practicalities.
Right, the nitty-gritty.
The actual challenges of handling the very weapon that was allegedly used to kill President Kennedy.
Right. It's all about understanding the physical object, you know, the mechanics of the crime. And what this article reveals is, well, it's quite surprising, the rifle, a Mannlicher Carcano. It actually breaks down into 12 separate components.
12, wow.
Not the simple two-part image we usually see.
Right, much more complex than that.
And that complexity brings up some serious questions about the timeline, the logistics of the whole assassination.
Yeah.
This wasn't just, you know, a quick and easy weapon to put together.
Yeah.
Required a certain level of skill, familiarity.
Absolutely.
The article details a researcher's experiment. He meticulously reassembled the rifle, documenting each step with photographs. Now, this researcher, Ian Griggs, he was working in ideal conditions. You know, he had plenty of time, a well-lit workspace, no pressure.
Yeah.
But imagine Oswald trying to assemble this rifle in that cramped book depository under all that pressure, you know, with the weight of his actions on his mind.
Right.
It's a huge difference.
And even Griggs, with all those advantages, he encountered difficulties.
Yeah.
He needed multiple attempts to assemble the rifle correctly. So is it really realistic to think that Oswald could have done it that morning?
Yeah.
In that environment, and then carried out the shooting with the precision that's attributed to him?
That's a question we'll definitely delve into. But first, we need to take a short break. We'll be back in a moment to unpack the implications of this experiment and explore some of the bigger questions these articles have raised.
You know, it's just fascinating how this whole hands-on experiment with the rifle, it really makes you think about the actual realities of the assassination.
Yeah.
Something that, I don't know, it seems like it gets lost sometimes in all the theories and the speculation.
Absolutely. It brings us back down to earth a bit. You know, the practical details. Makes you think about what Oswald would actually had to do that morning. And it really struck me, you know, going through these articles, how much emphasis there is on these firsthand accounts, these personal experiences.
Right.
It's not just about ballistics and forensic evidence,
Yeah.
the JFK assassination. It's about the human element, you know, how this event affected so many lives.
The ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that article about Robert McNeil and those calm men. It's like it puts you right there in the book depository, experiencing the chaos through his eyes.
You're right there with him.
It's not just a historical event anymore. It's like a visceral experience. And what's so compelling about McNeil's account is that it challenges the official story, you know, the one the Warren Commission put forward.
Right. It introduces the possibility that there might have been more going on, a coordinated effort of some kind.
Right. It's like, what's that saying? More to this than meets the eye. And this is just one reporter's account. Imagine all the other untold stories out there, all those perspectives we haven't even heard.
Well, what this thing about research, isn't it? It's about constantly finding new information, challenging those assumptions we have, piecing together a more complete picture of the past.
A more complete understanding.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenging assumptions, let's go back to that article about the Mannlicher Carcano rifle. That researcher working in like perfect conditions, even he had trouble putting it back together.
Right.
So do you think it's really plausible that Oswald, under all that pressure in that cramped space, could have done it?
It does make you wonder the practicalities of it all, you know, the logistics, the whole, just the complexity of that weapon. It doesn't really fit with that image we have of Oswald as this lone gunman acting so quickly and efficiently.
It feels like there's a missing piece somewhere, something we haven't considered yet.
And remember, this is just from one issue of the fourth decade.
Right.
There are so many other articles out there, each one giving a different perspective, a new piece to add to the puzzle.
A new clue.
Yeah. And as we dig deeper, we might even find connections between these seemingly isolated incidents.
That's what's so fascinating about the JFK assassination.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about one event, you know, one man. It's this whole web of events, these political motivations, hidden agendas, all these questions that are still unanswered.
Exactly. And after going through these 4 articles, you've got a much deeper understanding of just how complex this case is, how controversial it is even all these years later. We've seen how disinformation was spread, how Oswald's travels they're shrouded in mystery, how eyewitness accounts contradict the official story, how the practical aspects of the assassination weapon raise some serious doubt.
But we've seen how even tiny details, you know,
Yeah.
like that tram line number in Oswald's diary,
Yeah.
Even that could be important. Could lead to new discoveries.
It's true. Every detail matters. And it all goes back to that question, doesn't it? How do we really know what's true when we're faced with all this conflicting information, like official statements, hidden agendas?
Yeah, it takes some real critical thinking,
Yeah.
a willingness to question everything,
Yeah.
and to keep searching for solid evidence.
It's like a detective, really.
Right, got to follow the trail wherever it leads, even if it takes you down some unexpected paths.
Exactly. And the search for knowledge, it's an ongoing journey, not a destination. You know, as you continue exploring this case, you're bound to find more intriguing details, more questions that need answers, more things to think about.
More threads to pull on.
That's it. So to wrap things up, we want to leave you with a question, a thought-provoking one. Given everything we've talked about today, all the evidence, all the unanswered questions, do you think there's more to the JFK assassination than we've been told?
Something to ponder.
And as you continue researching, don't forget those primary sources, you know, those raw pieces of history.
Yeah, they're gold.
They give you a glimpse into the past.
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
Exactly.
Because you never know what you might find, what connections you might make, what hidden truths are out there, just waiting to be discovered.
The truth is out there somewhere, hidden in the layers of history.
And you know, with a curious mind and a persistent spirit, you might just be the one to bring it to light.
Never give up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the JFK assassination. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration. And we encourage you to keep digging, keep questioning, keep searching for the truth.
We'll be here, ready to guide you through the next stack of research whenever you're ready for another deep dive. You know, it's really striking. Each of these articles, it's like a thread, you know?
Yeah, and when you start to pull on those threads,
It's like they're all connected to this massive tapestry.
a tapestry that's so much bigger than the official story would have us believe.
Right.
We've got Senator Sauerwein spreading disinformation, possibly even like messing with the investigation. We've got this mysterious Jilasabchich just lurking in Oswald's diary. And then those calm men at the book depository. It's like they were in on something.
It makes you wonder if there was this whole network of people working behind the scenes, a network that went way deeper than anything the Warren Commission talked about.
And the fact that these researchers, you know, they were able to uncover all these details, often by like really digging into those primary sources. It really shows you how important independent investigation is.
Yeah, it's not enough to just rely on official statements or those accepted narratives. We've got to dig deeper, question everything.
Follow the evidence, wherever it leads.
And you've taken the time to really delve into this with us, so you're equipped to do just that.
Yeah.
You have a much deeper understanding now of how complex this case is, the inconsistencies in the official narrative, the possibility that there are truths hidden out there just waiting to be found.
And remember, this is just a glimpse, really, into all the research that's been done on the JFK assassination.
Right. There are tons of other articles, books, documentaries, all offering different viewpoints, exploring all these different avenues of inquiry.
So keep exploring, keep an open mind, be critical of what you come across, and always, always try to connect the dots.
Because the truth is out there, somewhere, buried within all those layers of history.
And with a curious mind, a little bit of persistence, you know, you might just be the one to bring it to light.
Never give up on the truth.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the JFK assassination. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we really encourage you, keep digging, keep questioning, keep searching for answers.
We'll be here, ready to guide you through the next stack of fascinating research whenever you're ready for another deep dive.